Oh, God. He's at it again.
No.
He has to be stopped.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Did I Save a Gaming Podcast. Talk about games past, present, and future. And today we're going to talk about our comfort games.
Biscuits and gravy.
These are games.
What games do you play? Never mind.
Yeah, these are games that you usually play when you're in a gaming rut or you're waiting for the next game to come out. You don't really have anything to play. And these are the games that you can find comfort in. You always go back to. And the rest of what we're going to talk about
They're
today.
good every time.
You don't have to go scrolling through your ridiculous list of Steam games to find them. They come to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How'd you know about my ridiculous list of Steam games?
Yeah. Everyone's ridiculous list of
So
Steam
I kind of define them as like kind of based on nostalgia, how familiar you are with the game, and I mean how much you know about the mechanics, how fast you can beat the game, just you can min-max the game.
I think I have kind of the perfect example. It's a boring one to start with, but for me, the game that kind of embodies this the best is Persona 4 for me. Because
I'm out of this.
It is a game that I've beaten multiple times.
Yeah.
I've beaten it at least 3 times.
Yeah.
I beat it on PlayStation 2. I beat it on the PS Vita when Golden came out, and now I've beat it on my Switch. And I really hope they do a remake of it. But even if nothing ever changes about that game, the characters are so, like, they feel like at this point, people I really know. Like, I feel like I'm spending time with friends when I play that game. And they, out of all the Persona games, I think they do the best job in 4 of making people who feel like real people with real problems that
Is that
matter.
just because it has, like, really good writing?
Great writing, but also just really well-rounded characters with their problematic elements just makes them feel a little bit more human.
Yeah.
And it feels more realized to me. But even with all these things that are very familiar to me that create that like comfort game atmosphere, it is effectively like a Pokemon game in the sense that you're constantly catching new creatures from different mythological folklores, and they have all this interesting backstory and all them. The character designs are so interesting. You can fuse them into new ones. So playing through the game is really encouraged because there are a lot, like you'll probably not catch all of them in the beginning anyway. And the game is designed where as you spend time with characters in the game, you deepen your relationship with them. You find out more about them and what kind of problems they're facing, and you help them overcome their insecurities and stuff like that. And it's really difficult to do that with everybody the first time through because you as a person have to develop your confidence, you have to develop your intellect, you have to develop your empathy in order to meet these people where they are. And so you end up in a really interesting situation where like the game will carry over those stats into New Game Plus so that you don't have to like spend that time that you spent before studying or working or whatever. And you kind of get more the second playthrough than you do the first time through even. Now, like I consider the Persona games to really start at New Game Plus because you have so much more freedom to just do what you are most interested in. And there's less like work in the sense that you need to build up your character over the course of the game. But the game also rewards you for doing New Game Plus because there's like new enemies, there's death, who like I don't know how it triggers in 4. I think it's if you stay on a particular floor too long or there's a statistical chance that they'll just show up. It's the hardest enemy in the game, and you can beat them, but they have no weaknesses. Their HP's crazy, and it's really a New Game Plus kind of thing. You're working your way up to it. So it has this really interesting mix of like deeply comfortable, familiar elements that don't change and that you want to come back to, but it also has this collectible element that makes it rewarding to come back and play it. And it just seems to, it's so tight, it's so well paced. Even coming back to it years later, there's so little of that game that I feel like I could skip over. Like I want to re-experience all that stuff holistically. And that to me is like the epitome of a comfort game, is like it just gets better with time and you just feel more fondly towards it as you re-experience that game over and over again.
That game feels like a part of you.
100%. Yeah, like I try not to make things a personality trait, but Persona 4, like if I was going to get a tattoo, it would probably be of like Persona 4.
Yeah.
That's my head and shoulders above everything else comfort game for sure. Right. So what is on your list?
What's on my list?
You don't remember a single thing on your
Dude,
list?
I know, man. This guy. All right. Give me your comfort game, Ryan.
Okay. A game that I love to go back to, and it's funny because you mentioned it, but I'm talking about the sequel, is XCOM 2. I love going back and playing that game every time.
Yeah. So in our last episode, we did talk a little bit about XCOM in our most like pet peeves, but I guess it should be said that I do go back to XCOM about once a year because I love that game.
Yeah. As if you've listened to our past episodes, you'll know I love tactical games, and XCOM is just like hits hard the whole time. You're stressed out, but in such a good way. You have to manage this team of like these units that perma die, and I've named them all my best friends and my wife.
I stopped doing that for obvious reasons
because you could just name them
Ryan,
whatever you want, and so it just makes it amazing when Jared just gets blown up, and then
no, Jared, no.
I'm gonna take that clip out of context for sure. So good when Jared gets blown up.
Oh, so good. Well, what happens is he has a kid that immediately grows up to 21 years old, and he enlists in the army, and then I just rename him Jared.
Beautiful.
And so he's Jared the Third, Jared the Fourth.
Am I flattered?
Jared the Fifth. Jared dies a lot.
I was gonna say, dang man, your lineage is getting destroyed.
I was gonna say that it's really amazing how much naming a character someone you know can affect your attachment to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently not true for Ryan.
No,
so,
just makes it funny, man.
I love killing Jared.
I'm putting him out in the wild, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing better than bullet.
And I get to welcome to the group.
Jared
This
said.
is Jared's great-great-grandson, Jared the Fourth.
How am I procreating if I'm dying at 18 over and over again?
That's right.
But it has just such a good system, like where you're never just sitting there waiting with that game, even though it's turn-based. Like there's so much happening all the time. Like the enemies move, they take their turns quick. The game is very difficult, but not in a way that feels. I will say that when you first play it, it feels broken. The enemy feels like it's like impossible almost. But once you get good at that game, it's just fun to go back to every time and just see different ways you can beat it, because you can arrange your team, you can have different types of units, but then you can also gear them in certain ways. You can research certain paths faster than other paths if you want to. So it's just cool. It's always fresh.
Definitely a game that understands how to force you to balance resources, which is something that I'm always appealing to me.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see
it's hard to find a good point to put it down, because there's always something to do.
That is the most dangerous loop that can possibly exist for me, is the second you finish one thing, you've gotten so close to finishing the next thing on your list that you might as well just go ahead and finish it.
Yeah.
And that just keeps happening with thing after thing, and before you know it, it's 3 hours more than you meant to spend on that game. And that game really does. I think the big thing about that game is research. You're always just barely scraping by with enough resources to try and upgrade to new weapons or new technology or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're always making impossible choices between like this really good, really valuable upgrade or this equally good upgrade, just in a totally different direction.
You have upgrades that are like class specific, like the new shotgun is only for the ranger, the sniper obviously for the sniper, but then you have like across the board upgrades you could be doing that increases like everyone's armor or stuff.
The replayability is so good because that element of it feels like if you just try and upgrade the shotgun class or whatever, they will become super powerful and important, and then they'll die, and you'll have to start all over because that person has permadeath. But as you start to try and like round out the other classes, like the stealth class is basically useless when you first start, and then you'll start getting like laser swords and stuff where it's like so much damage that it's worth putting them in harm's way because they can really do numbers later on. And like that risk reward really keeps you coming back and thinking like, if I had just done it this other way, or like what would happen if I had done it this other way. Like it's a comfort game, but at the same time it's a game that kind of demands that you revisit those elements, it just makes it really easy and approachable to dive back in. Or what happens to me, I'll just start over. Like if I've forgotten where I am, the barrier to entry is so low that, and it's so satisfying to go through those motions again. I don't care to start over. So it's like, it says a lot about a game that I'm willing to just discard all my old progress because I don't understand what was happening at the time. Yeah, agreed. That game's great.
It is.
It improves upon the first one in every way, so it's like I wouldn't go back to play the first one. And if you have the DLC, The War of the Chosen, you also have like a whole new race that you can have with all these new different really cool abilities. He's got like a grappling hook thing that like you can just be super tactical with that. Get great points of coverage to give your team coverage and things like that. But
yeah, I have kind of a tangential entry. If I can.
No. Talon, go.
Mine is also a Firaxis game.
Oh, okay.
Midnight Suns.
Dang it. I knew he was going to say that. All right, so now we have to fight.
Midnight Suns.
I've never played it.
Man.
I want to play it.
It's so good.
It is the exact same. If like what you're talking about.
Oh, I know 100%.
Now just add Marvel characters.
It's the Marvelness.
There's no
that
permadeath,
immediately took me away from it was Marvel has just gotten a little cheesy for me.
I understand. Well, okay, so I think it's worth, and for anybody who's not played the game who's listening, it's really important to note that this version of the Marvel Universe is like the 90s era comic books.
Correct.
It is not the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
The personalities are not that way.
Which is how I want my Marvel.
Yes. It's very good. Honestly, maybe the best interpretation of Captain America that I've seen. I think they do a perfect job of showing you why he's a really compelling superhero.
Yeah.
When so many just make him really boring.
Yeah. I agree.
So what is it for you?
Well, it takes some of the frustrating elements from XCOM, where you have a 95% chance to hit.
I use a mod for that. Yeah.
I use a mod for that.
Oh, we don't do that in my house.
Your heroes are always going to hit.
Oh, really?
It just might not do as much damage, depending on...
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
So it is cool. Yeah. They do have crazy cinematic cards that you can play, and... but you have to spend time. There's no like romance mechanic, but you do spend a lot of time.
You do build relationships.
You do build relationships.
Like you give gifts, you hang out.
Yeah,
you go to clubs.
hang out. Yeah.
A book
I don't
club.
remember that part.
Book club.
Book club. Yeah.
And there's also a movie club.
Yeah, but it's nice because you get bonuses where they'll help you out in combat, or you guys can do combos
like
together
Fire
now.
Emblem. Like Fire Emblem.
So there's super powerful team up attacks where two characters will do an insane amount of damage.
Yeah.
And you can only get those by getting to a certain relationship level with them.
Yeah.
And if you get them all the way to max level, there's like a trial that you unlock that's unique to each character. And if you can beat it, you get a super powerful ability for that character.
Do your characters get fatigued like they do in XCOM?
So if you get injured, like if you drop to 0 health, there's a percentage chance that you'll get an injury that you'll have to recover from.
Yeah.
And if you keep fighting, like if you keep sending them on missions when they haven't recovered, it will amplify the extent of the
that's what XCOM does.
Yeah.
But there's a training facility in your little base that you can upgrade. And there's an upgrade where if a character has an injury, you take them out for one mission, put them in like a magical hot tub, and their injury turns to a bonus.
All
the
hot
next
tubs are
mission.
magical hot tubs.
That's fair. So it does have that element to it. Like I said, no permadeath or anything, but there is.
I think permadeath would be really interesting in that game.
I don't know narratively, because the thing about XCOM is you can just recruit new people, right?
Yeah, you can't just recruit a new Spider-Man.
All the characters are not just known characters, but they're important to the story. Like all of them serve.
But don't you create a character?
No,
you don't.
So you choose their gender, and you can put different. You'll gain different like clothes that are casual clothes you walk around in, which who cares? But you'll also get different outfits, like different suits.
You do make your own character. You're the hunter.
Oh, so Jared lied to me.
Do you actually change your physical appearance in that game?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just chose gender at the beginning.
Oh. I don't know. Now that you say that,
I'm not 100% sure, but you do.
You may have like a standard.
We'll
face,
throw some text on the video here. telling us what's actually happening.
Yeah. Just
you can pick his hair and his
you guys
beard.
are watching the video clips of the game.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought you could choose like their face. I guess
Maybe
you can because they animate their specific.
Email us
face.
at didisave.
and they look. Hey, guess what? Call back to our last episode. They look goofy.
They look. Goofy.
You don't even make it, but sometimes their face looks real. Like I put war paint on my character's face because whenever she does her super attack, I just can't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And now she looks like a wrestler, so at least it matches the theme.
Yeah,
Nice. At least I'm not supposed to take her seriously.
Yeah. And I think the big difference, besides aesthetic, between XCOM and Marvel Midnight Suns is the card-based system.
Card-based mechanic, which is interesting because you like
that. Yeah.
Oh, you would.
You would love it.
I know for a fact.
I
would dig this game.
Yeah,
I just haven't picked. At first, I didn't pick it up because it's Marvel, and which I used to be a big Marvel fan, and I've just kind of been killed at that. And then over time, it's been, well, I don't want to spend $60 in this game, but then it goes on sale, and it's like I've got all these other games I need to play. So it's just been that game for.
It was on sale for $11 last week.
Yeah. Did you get the DLC?
I bought Disco Elysium,
which. Hey,
that's
I respect that decision. Okay. Disco Elysium is a better game overall than Midnight Suns.
Oh, you think so?
But Midnight Suns is a better comfort game than Disco Elysium is. Disco Elysium will make you feel bad all day long.
Knowing what I know, I would definitely have to agree.
Yeah.
Like one thing that's nice is that you have the Abbey, which is like your hub where all your heroes are. And obviously, some of them actually provide things for you, like they can provide different cards or something like that. But they're actually doing stuff while they're at the Abbey. They're not just standing around, which is really nice. It's a nice touch. Some of them, Peter is usually playing video games, right?
Nerd.
Yeah. And, you got Wolverine and Blade, and they're usually working out.
Or like sitting at the bar complaining.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you feel like they're real. You know what I mean? And you can spend time with them. But it's funny to take Blade painting. You're like on a cliff talking to Blade, and he's painting a.
It's so it's really funny. But more than anything, it's like, wow, you really made these people feel real. Like
they spent a lot of time.
The Marvel movies, like when you watch them, especially the earlier ones, you feel like there's a real dynamic at play between these characters, and like the banter is there, and it's very authentic. In these games, it's like Captain America recommends a book to book club, and everyone reads it, and they're talking about it. And there's like a section, it's about like history's greatest leaders or whatever, and Captain America is a chapter in the book, and he's like, "Can we skip this chapter?"
Right.
And
this sounds like a weird game.
It is a weird game.
It's a great game.
But like hearing like another character be like, Captain America's greatest weakness is like he can't accept a compliment from someone he respects. Just like, well, that hits home for me a lot, but it's so interesting to see them really pick apart the weaknesses and the flaws in these characters, and like, what would they do in their free time? You never see that in a comic because no one wants to read a comic about what Captain America does in book club.
Right.
But it gives you a moment to see the
yourself.
downtime. Oh, I'm not a part of that group. I just think it's so. They do an incredible job of making you care about those characters. In the same
it's
way
interesting because they also, if you take them on battle with one another, because they don't immediately all trust each other. You know,
that's a big part
of
the story.
They're like Blade. Blade is half vampire or whatever, and there's a lot of people that are like, I don't know if I trust this guy because
I hunt vampires.
Yeah, and the main character is a hunter, and he's just like. So there's like this kind of dynamic, but then they actually, they grow and develop together, which makes you feel
maybe
like
vampire not so bad.
Not so bad.
Well,
he counts a lot. But
this one
they do suck though.
This one's so bad. Yeah. So
that was a fake laugh for listeners.
That's all right. But when you take them on battle, you tend to care about them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of the same dynamic when you're talking about XCOM, where you name Jared 20. And you just throw them out there.
And Fire Emblem also does a very good job with that, where you care about these characters, and it has permadeath, and
it has safe scumming.
Lots of that.
And I do both.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, Jared, go ahead.
Let's see. So I guess my second one it could be anything. I'm trying to figure out the most impactful order to list these in. I'll just get the obvious ones out of the way since I've done Persona 4. Actually, you know what? You were just talking about XCOM, and it reminded me of
XCOM 1.
XCOM 1, which I just...
Phoenix Point, I think, is the other one they did.
Actually, I heard that game's very good. Never played it. But RimWorld is my
Oh, really?
like
Okay.
that
Okay.
game.
Yeah.
I have a friend on Steam
rules.
that's literally always playing RimWorld.
Oh, interesting.
Always playing RimWorld.
So
Do you know this
RimWorld,
friend?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
that's a fair question.
Yeah.
I don't know half the people on
I
my
went to
Steam.
high school
Right.
with this friend.
Okay, so for context,
Wait,
RimWorld
this is your second?
this is my second.
Okay.
RimWorld is a game where it starts out this is a crew that was on a ship. The ship is malfunctioning. They have to eject and they land on the nearest planet. So first you'll pick a crew of 4 and you can randomize them if you want, or you can make them from scratch. And there's a list of skills where these people have like mining or like pottery or leadership or whatever. And then they have kind of like The Sims, they can have physical disabilities, like they could be missing a limb, or they could have bipolar disorder. Like there are a lot of mental health issues, and the characters can develop them over the course of the game as well, based on what happens. But this game at its heart is a game that thrives on randomness emerging into narrative. Like that's the best way I can describe this game. So regardless of how you create your crew, they will crash land on this planet. You use the shrapnel from your ship plus anything that you can collect nearby from resources like mining rocks or chopping down trees or what's the word I'm looking for? Like with livestock and stuff, like domesticating them.
Yeah,
You can domesticate animals, all that stuff. And you're trying to build a base for them. Basically, it's just a survival game at the end of the day. You build a base. I have no idea what you two just did.
No,
with
he
your
was
hands.
just...
I have to stop touching.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you're just trying to keep these people alive. That's really what it boils down to. But the game has such a shockingly deep system for the relationships that the characters develop as they go. And you pick where you land on the planet. It'll tell you the average high and low temperatures. It'll tell you like this region is very desert or very, like jungly, rainforesty, whatever. You'll pick there, and then there will be like caravans that pass through to trade with you. Eventually, as your technology progresses, basically you can assign a person to research, and over time they will learn how to do new things, and then you'll just be able to get that new technology and to build it if you have the resources. You can leave the place that you're in and go start another colony somewhere else.
Okay.
Or find another colony and like raid it if you want or whatever.
Now, how
And-
is the... Not to interrupt, but
No, you're good.
I don't know much about it. I only know it of the name.
It's
So-
basically like a top-down
Okay.
RTS style survival game.
As far as like the graphics go, it's pretty minimalist.
Very, very minimalist.
Okay.
Which is wild. Like when you hear, we were talking off recording about like the stories that people will tell you that emerge out of these situations are
There's a Reddit thread, like the
Shocking.
RimWorld Reddit thread, and I've just dove into it and just like I've never played the game, but
Yeah.
I've read just incredible things that sound like it's from a book or a
Yeah.
movie, but it's just a dude playing RimWorld, and
Huh, okay.
just one guy's experience.
Yeah.
And it's,
Cool.
for me, it's the epitome of a game where you play an hour of it and you're like, oh, man, I've designed this base all wrong. Like I could do this so much better if I started over. So you
Yeah.
just start over.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've never gotten more than like 10 hours into one base because by the time I get there, I'm like, okay, I've learned so much about how to do this better. I'm just going to
Yeah.
start over.
Okay,
And,
gotcha.
but the characters, like they'll build relationships with each other based on their personality styles.
Okay.
So some people will become like enemies and actually could get into fights and kill each other.
Yeah.
Or some people will fall in love and they'll want to get married. And then like the mechanics are deep enough that like if they want to be married but you don't have like a threshold, like you literally designate an area as like this is where you get married. This is a wedding threshold.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, sometimes they'll be like, I really want to get married, but I can't. And they'll start getting depressed. And like you make it, then they're super happy and they like work better.
Okay.
And they'll work faster or whatever. And their skills level up over time. So being good at something just means they're more efficient at it.
Yeah.
Anybody can do anything unless that skill is grayed out.
Yeah.
Because they just despise doing it so much or they have a physical limitation or whatever. But like the person after they get married, they'll want to move in together. If they can't share a bed because you only have single person beds, they'll be sad that they don't get to spend time together, that they have to stay in 2 separate rooms. So it's like it's not just like get married and now they're happy.
Yeah.
It's like now they want to move in together. Now they wish they could have a kid. Now they're like, they don't like how dirty the floor is. Like if you butcher an animal inside and there's just blood all over everything, everyone, when they come in, their personality or like their satisfaction will just plummet. And you'll mouse over it and it'll be like, yeah, there's blood everywhere. I really don't like being in this room. Or they'll be like, there's nothing fun to do here. And you'll have to like build them a chessboard or something. So there's this constant.
That fixed it.
There's, yeah. Oh, all I needed was chess.
Yeah.
We need
Place
3
it on the
chessboards.
blood.
I actually wish you would take the chessboard away. It's worse.
Have you heard of checkers?
Greg keeps asking me to play chess, and I hate it. But the whole thing is like there's like 2 layers happening at the same time. There's the actual base survival of building new buildings, protecting yourself from raiders or wild animals or whatever. If you mine too deep, sometimes you'll let out weird alien technology that'll try and kill you or whatever. There's tons of things that can go wrong at any point in time. And
Interesting.
It can be like a snowball effect where like you don't prepare for winter and things get real bad real fast. And you're like, I can't keep things warm, or like a storm will knock out your power. And everybody's like, oh, the food's going bad. And everyone's super cold because the heating's not working. And it's so unpredictable. That's probably the best part. But like while you're trying to survive, you're also trying to get these people in their own way to thrive. Because if they're not happy, they don't care about surviving anymore.
Yeah.
And they will go into like manic episodes where like the dude that's supposed to be hunting food will just go on a shooting spree because he's just tired of like being alive in this terrible place.
Wow.
So there are so many opportunities for interesting stories that it's like, who cares if you're starting over? The opportunity for storytelling is always
You're never
right
gonna have the
there.
same story every time. And I think that what makes it such a great recipe for a comfort game is it's gonna feel like a different game every time.
Yeah.
You understand the mechanics as they are, but this is a different game now.
You get better at managing their survivability, but the actual narrative that is unfolding is in some ways just outside your control all the time. You can kind of steer it in wide swaths, but that's it.
And just like with relationships with people, you can
Exactly.
make relationships with these people, but they're going to make their own decisions, things like that. You can't control them. So,
Yeah, and that's a big thing is that like
Yeah, exactly. You'd be totally different.
yeah, and that happens a lot of like person leaves because they proposed to someone and that person didn't like them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now they're like, oh, I got rejected.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be here anymore. And they'll just leave your settlement.
Well, then they go and work out and they get super attractive.
And then they come
get
back
the
and they're like,
haircut and
do you like me now?
they brush their teeth
Yeah.
now.
And they're like, no. And then he burns your whole thing.
it's your
down.
personality.
No, it's inside.
Yeah. It's on the inside. Yeah.
You're not funny.
Are we? Talon?
That's right.
Oh, it is me. I think I had to think about this one for a little while, but it just is a comfort game, and it just is Elden Ring. I can just always go back to
That's a good
that.
choice.
Yeah, and it's like that just encompasses like all the Dark Souls games for me because it is a Souls game.
Yes.
It's kind of a culmination.
It
of
is
the
Dark Souls 4.
games.
Let's get honest.
Yeah.
For sure.
Dark
Dark Souls expanded.
Yeah, I went back and played. I'm actually currently playing through Dark Souls, the remastered of the first one, and just going back and playing that, it's wild to see how much the combat has improved from the first game. And even in the remaster, they fixed some things, but Elden Ring's combat is just
Elden Ring is the tipping point for me.
yeah, it's just so much better.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It is the Souls game for me, a person who doesn't like
It
Souls
definitely
games.
brought a lot of people that weren't into Dark Souls into their genre
Yeah.
of video game. It was, and then all those players left when they fought the first boss.
Well, and that was my
Yeah.
okay, so that's a big point of contention, and I'm interested where you land on it. But I know a lot of people who were really turned off by the open world element of Elden Ring, and that was the thing that tipped the scales for me. Is that like I'm not forced to fight one of 3 bosses that I am not ready or willing to fight yet. I'll just wander around and see what's out here.
True.
Like what can I find? What can I explore?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of understandable pushback of like, well, the dungeons are all like, you get a weapon that may or may not be good, or you get a useless item for spending all this time exploring or whatever. But the thing is, I don't think that's not in the other Souls games. I think that is still a very valid part of the Souls experience. And granted, I play Elden Ring with other people. Like, I will play it alone, but it's such a different experience, and it's so much more satisfying to play with someone.
Yeah.
So, like, how do those elements play in for you versus another Souls game? Like,
Well, for me, like, I've got this OCD thing. Like, before I fight the next boss that is supposed to be, like, takes me to the next part of the game, I need to do everything I can before I fight that boss. So the open
you want 100%
worldness-
it area by area.
Yeah, so that's where I struggle with, like I just need to move on from this area and go ahead and fight this boss. Like, I'm definitely ready. I've got all the gear, blah, 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 level up enough.
He wasn't ready.
When you take on that castle for the first time,
It's an experience.
It's a big wake up call.
there's...
You ready?
And that's where, like, when I first played that game and I get into that castle, I'm just like, yeah, this game's going to be so good. That castle has so many secrets, has like 3 or 4 different mini bosses, and then 2 like big bosses, all in this like area of the game that's like 10% of the game. The rest of the game, there's like so much more. And then the dungeons and stuff kind of fell flat in that game, but with all its flaws, like the combat system, like outshines all of that. So where even with its flaws, that game's amazing. But
So is it kind of a comfort game for you by default because you love the Souls formula so much and this is just the best version of that? Or is there something unique about it that makes you, like aside from Souls games, that you find it to be a comfort game?
I think what I find it most, like the reason why I pick it over the other Souls games is because there's just so much more to do strategy-wise when it comes to making a character and choosing how you want to combat.
Yeah.
If you want to go your typical strategy, you still have way more options in terms of like the gear you're going to use, the weapon you're going to use, the armor you're going to use, things like that, the spells you're going to use. You just have way more options, and therefore I think it's just because the combat is at its best that it's ever been in the Soul series.
Yeah.
That I picked that as a comfort game. The open worldness, like when it comes to video games, and I see an open world, I'm usually like, great, open world. I'm going to run around a lot and do a lot of nothing. And Elden Ring definitely has that.
Yeah.
But then
you get a horse.
Yeah, you get a horse
And
pretty
the horse
early
rules.
on. If you haven't played Elden Ring, go ahead and rest at as many of the grace sites as you can as fast as possible, because that will unlock your hub world, your horse, things like that, which is not a horse.
I remember like
It's,
trying to get as far as I
an
could go
elk.
in that game without resting.
It's some made-up creature.
Yeah, it's like
of
a mythical thing.
And it gets double jump, but they even explain the double jump.
You know
it's
how I feel about
magic.
double jumps, friend.
Magic, yeah. But it does like, because you and I just talked about Dark Souls. Was it yesterday?
Just texting, yeah.
Yeah, just talking about how that game feels slower when you go back and play it specifically.
It feels
it's like,
super
man,
clunky.
it's so slow.
Yeah.
But Elden Ring, and like we've talked about before on the podcast, is that they take and fix the stamina mechanic.
Yeah, if you're not in combat,
exploring, you can just run as
Did
far
Tears of the
and-
Kingdom do that as well?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, did it? Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Where if you're... Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. When you're
Yeah,
just
no,
running and
yeah.
exploring, it's just you're straining.
Yeah, so Elden Ring, if you're not in combat, you're just exploring, no stamina bar. You can sprint as long as you like.
That's a beautiful thing.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, give me a stamina bar when it makes it interesting,
Yes.
not when it slows me down.
Combat only. That's my
Combat
stance.
only. Yeah.
Give me a stamina bar in combat.
Yeah.
Don't.
And once you see your stamina bar going down, you know an enemy sees you.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Nice little tip.
Yeah. So it is kind of a, it adds to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Being watched.
Yeah.
I can tell because I'm getting tired.
Yeah. So,
the open world, I think could definitely also use some improvement. You'll go into a dungeon that feels a lot like another dungeon you did. You'll get
that
loot
cat
that
boss.
doesn't feel very satisfying.
Yeah.
But there's just so much loot in that game.
Yeah.
By the time you're at the end of the game, go ahead and look through your inventory.
Well, and a lot of times
It's ridiculous.
I'll get loot that, like, I'll get a katana, and I'm not even a sword user or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can at some point respec all of your points in that game and become a melee class instead of magic, or vice versa, whatever. But the thing is, the weapons are interesting enough that often it'll make me be like, should I try out this class? Like, it will push me to do things and try things that I wouldn't.
a lot of the
do.
weapons have something unique about them, which I like.
Yeah, and
Whether it
that
be-
is a comfort game to me. Is that, like, no matter how many times I play it, there is a promise of the unknown.
There's a lot of weapons you pick up early, but you could use that weapon for the entire game.
Yeah.
You don't see that in a lot of games.
Like I know you like. See, that's the one thing going back to the original Dark Souls, but you like being like a heavy class. I like being rushdown character. I want to get in there, do some damage real quick, and kind of back out or whatever.
More roguish or
Hit and run.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing that
I like to
Elden Ring
Yeah.
does is it feels like it's more malleable in that sense, where you can basically make whatever, and it's gonna work.
Yeah.
For everything, I mean, of course, you gotta
you gotta learn how to make it work,
right? You gotta make it work, but you can do that. But with Dark Souls, you're almost like don't really have a choice. Like you can try to be a thief, but it's like, dude, you're gonna get wrecked, bro. It ain't gonna work. You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
So with Elden Ring, and I feel like they fixed that, or they kind of balanced it a little bit more along for everybody, and where it's like, if this is how you want to play it, you can make it work within the confines of the game, but they actually give you the tools to do that, rather than just being like, you can only play this way. Yeah. And it's not going to work.
True. And that I see this as we're talking about our comfort games more and more.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a formula here, and that's we can approach these games differently every time we play them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is creating our comfort games is your choices matter, or the way you play it matters.
Are we moving backwards?
You can go if you want.
It better be interesting, though.
Are you ready for it?
No.
NFL Blitz.
Oh my gosh!
No, definitely not ready.
Never in a million years. You sure you're not talking about NFL Street? Because that's where it's at.
NFL Blitz.
Can I ask you when the last
Can
time
I ask you to
played
leave?
NFL Blitz?
A couple weeks ago.
And then ask you to leave.
A couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Really? Okay. Were you comfortable?
Dude, I love this game. Every time I fire it up, man, I just have
Weird that you've never invited me, but go on.
Shoot, man.
I don't think
Trivia.
I don't think I've ever played it.
What?
I don't think so.
Are you kidding me?
I played a lot of NFL Street as a kid.
I mean, NFL Street is also great.
That's the only football game I ever
played.
played.
NBA
Street Series, yeah.
NBA Street I also played a lot of.
Yeah.
That's where
NFL Blitz, dude. Just crank that bad boy.
I'm not even.
Well,
sure
I don't have. I was trying to think of a question to like lead you in.
Is that the
You're
one
on your own here, bud.
Is that the one where you can use drugs?
No,
that's probably the later series. The later.
That's not
on the PS2. I'm talking about. I'm specifically talking.
That's a different one.
I'm talking about.
Doesn't have the licensing. It's like the Extreme League or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Where you can break bones and take drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, this is just like N64, PS1,
NFL
Blitz. Just the classic.
Older.
Yeah, dude. It's nothing like you throw a pass downfield and you just like eviscerate your like whoever you're playing with. I played with my dad a lot back in the day, and then you just he's on the ground, dude. And you could just tackle him over and over and over, and the announcer's like, "Whoa, watch out for that guy!"
I hate to see that kind of stuff.
Like, dude,
just like cutting himself off because you keep tackling him.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dude, just do a freaking pile driver on this guy, and he's already ground. He's like, "Oh, dude, man,
just good
we gotta play
fun.
it. It's fun."
Yeah.
Dude.
So
You're just gonna
outside of Blitz, are you a football guy? I've never heard you talk about football.
I like NFL football.
You just know to keep your mouth shut around me about football.
Well, no, I don't actively watch football.
Okay, that's my
No. Like I used to keep up with it. You know,
I go to
Chicago, the Bears. You know,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
I go to the
blah.
parties, Super Bowl parties, because there's good food.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna go to anything, go to the Super Bowl party.
Go to the Super Bowl party for sure.
And just be like, I'm gonna whoever you just look around the room, you gauge the room. Whoever's wearing the most shirts of that specific team, that's who you vote for. So,
okay. I'll
Or if
put that
there's-
in my pocket.
Or
There
if
you
there's
go.
the one guy with the face paint, you want to be on his side.
yeah, exactly. You don't piss that guy
Yeah,
off.
make him
Yeah,
piss
he's gonna be like 20 Bud Lights in, going 8 if it doesn't.
Going ham on whoever he sees first.
That's right. So, but it's easy. It's just fun. You pick up and play. You don't have to take it seriously. It's so over the top ridiculous.
It makes a lot of
It's
sense.
just fun.
It's
That's
kinda
why I like
Smash
NFL
Brothers
Street.
or
Yeah.
anything else. It's it's
yeah.
perfect for just jumping in
And
and
just-
having some
yeah.
havoc.
It's
fun competition.
right.
Yeah.
It's
'Cause it's
absolutely
ridiculous.
insane.
For sure,
Yeah. Nothing's gonna go the way you think it, and
And there's no
doesn't
lead
make
up. There's no.
Oh,
you're
does
in.
it?
You're
Yeah.
playing immediately.
Right. Exactly.
Does it have
Yeah.
as good of a soundtrack as NFL Street or NBA Street?
No, not at
Almost
all.
certainly
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that soundtrack was. that
bumping,
introduced me to some music, man.
Dude, I know.
Yeah.
That's right, man. But that's it. It's just fun. Pick up, play. It's just a blast, dude. It's
great.
It's over the top ridiculousness, but it's like clean too, you know. So I appreciate that, but but it's good, man. It's fun.
Agreed.
So
Throw some dirt on it.
go ahead.
My next one is also extremely predictable. It's Hades. It's Hades.
Okay.
Oh, God.
That's
I'm never gonna play this
very
game.
good comfort game.
You're only cheating yourself then.
Yeah.
So Hades.
Joke's on you.
Basically, Hades is about.
Oh wait, real quick, before you jump into it. Every podcast that we have had,
I've talked about
We've
Hades.
mentioned
talked about
Hades.
Hades.
This will be. I was going to
move
say
on.
this will be the last one. No, this will be the first one where I actually talk about it in depth. It won't be the last.
Yeah.
Because Hades does everything right.
Yeah.
Hades, there's nothing to improve about Hades.
Yeah, really.
Find me in the street, I will fight you.
Yeah.
Hades. So Greek mythology, right? Like the
stuff.
god of the underworld, you're his son, and you don't want to be there anymore. Zagreus is his name.
That's right.
So you've decided that your dad is like, bruh, I've tried to give you jobs. I've tried to keep you happy. If you want to leave, take your best shot. Because you're going to have to fight your way through the entire underworld to get back to the surface.
Yeah.
And so this whole game is you are literally fighting through all these different stages of the underworld to try and get back to the surface for reasons that the game gets into later on.
And when anyone dies in that mythology, they're put in Hades, and the same thing is true for Zagreus.
Right. So when Zagreus dies, he goes to Hades, and his dad is there, and he's like, "Oh, didn't make it very far this time, did you?"
Nice.
And the like hub world that you end up back in whenever you die. So it's a roguelike. So it's like not quite top down. It's like
At an angle.
yeah, it's like a 45-degree camera angle looking down.
You can't
at
turn the
character.
camera.
So you can't turn the camera, but the room that you go in, it's just a series of random rooms basically, and enemies will spawn into the room, populate. You kill them. You pick a weapon before you leave. So there's like a spear that all has unique attacks of its own. There's, a sword and shield. There's a bow. There's
I think
like
the sword and
7.
shield is actually just a shield. It's a shield you throw.
There is a shield and there is a sword. That's right. They're not a sword
There's
and
a
shield
gun.
together.
Yeah.
There's a gun. There are tons of weapons, and they all have a very unique, not just like what they do, but they change your play style.
Yeah.
Because every time
The strategy is totally different.
totally different. And every time you clear a room, one of the gods will basically they're sending you messages. They can't hear you, but you can send them messages through what's the god? Hermes will carry messages or whatever. And then every time you find like an orb from one of the gods, you'll open it and they'll be like, "We're rooting for you." And they'll give you some of their power. But you get a choice of 3 different things from that particular god. So if it's Zeus, it'll be like your strong attack will electrocute 2 additional enemies when you hit them or whatever. Every room will give you a new ability. So you're combining these abilities, dozens of them over the course of this run, where every run feels completely unique and you just have a blast trying completely new stuff, combining different abilities.
You'll
in
pick the
different
same
ways.
weapon every run and still have a different
And
run
still,
every time.
yes, will feel
Yeah.
completely different. You're like, okay, I'm going to go for like damage over time. I want to poison everybody, or I want chain attacks for group control.
I want
or
this
whatever.
shield throw to be ginormous.
Yeah, but you really have to think in multiple dimensions because most rooms are just a bunch of weak enemies. So you want to have something to deal with a lot of enemies at once. But then if that's all you choose in your ability upgrades, when you get to a boss, you're going to be sunk because it's going to be so much more difficult because it's just one dude with a ton of health and you're not designed to deal with that. And so it's very much like there's a lot of like dodging at the right time. And
It's
like
Bloodborne-esque with the dodging. Like
a little bit, yeah.
It's very like fast-paced. Like you've got to be aware of what's happening.
Because enemies will dash at you
Yeah.
too. And so it's constant like cat and mouse. You're using like there'll be like columns to protect you, but they break after a certain number of hits or whatever.
Yeah.
And as you go along, there's like a random chance that you'll find people along the way who will help you in unique ways.
Yeah.
And you are building real relationships with them. Like as you get close to people by talking to them or giving them gifts or whatever, there are lots of people along the way, but then back at the hub, you can actually build a relationship with your dad, with your brother, with Achilles, who is there in the underworld, but he was like the best fighter in history. So your dad recruited him to teach you how to fight, and that's where you learn to fight, is from Achilles. So he got like an honorary place in Hades. He's not just in the underworld, he's like there with you. And as things go along, you can like upgrade that base to have new features, and it looks different, which is like a lot of the cosmetic upgrades are actually like a huge pull for me, whereas I'm normally not.
They're really
I don't
clean,
care about that
good
stuff.
looking designs.
Yeah, and it feels like you're like, it feels like it's kind of like the overall narrative of the game is like home is what you make it. And so Zagreus is realizing over these runs over and over that like not everyone that he has this antagonistic relationship with is really out to get him like he thinks they are. And it's the writing, there's over 1 million words in the script, insane. And it's all voiced over.
You keep talking to the same people over and over, and they have new things to say every time. And you've been playing this game for hundreds of hours.
Imagine dying 100 times, and your dad has something different to say to you every time you come back. Like it feels so fully realized in the way that like these just feel like people who live here, and you're just part of this.
Very good writing, voice acting.
Voice acting is incredible. The art design in the game, for anyone who hasn't seen Hades, is staggeringly good. I recommend it on PC just because you can see it in 4K, but it looks great on Switch. Yeah. It runs great on Switch. That's where I play it mostly. But there's nothing about this game that isn't completely compelling to me.
Each weapon feels once you master the weapons, it feels so satisfying. There's not a weapon in there that's like, I don't like that weapon.
Yes.
And at first I was like that. But once you try that weapon.
I tried to get away from the sword as soon as possible. Yeah. And then when I started New Game Plus, I was like, sword rules.
Yeah.
Why did I leave this sword?
And when you get New Game Plus, you unlock a new version of each weapon, and they have different powers and things.
And and that's what I was going to say. When you build relationships with these people, eventually they'll give you an item, and that item will modify how you engage with the world. Like it might give you an extra option when you're choosing upgrades, or it might double your health or whatever. So
it's a hard game to put down.
It's the epitome of a one more run game. Yeah. The next Hades, I'm sure, will be my newest comfort game.
I feel like it'll still be like you could still go back and play Hades because there's all those weapons that you don't get to use.
It's just I mean, that's the danger.
And I will continue to never play it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Just kidding.
Because you're a terrible person.
Well, one thing that's nice is the barrier of entry is pretty low because it's only like $24.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty
It's
reasonable.
money well spent.
Yeah.
And the tutorial is not front-loaded.
I just have
You start off in a run.
And it's on everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah.
So,
PC,
Ryan, what is your
Xbox? Which one do I want to talk about next?
Let me check my list. Hold on.
This one was hard for me to choose. So I'm just going to cut it down to one. But I was trying to choose between Baldur's Gate 3 or Divinity Original Sin 2.
I'm excited to hear which one you pick.
Yeah.
After going back and playing with you guys,
you're like, man, this game
No, it's
why did I do
It's still great, but I think Baldur's Gate takes it by.
They just learned so much from.
I guess so, but they do a lot of things just differently. They take a different direction, and it's not even that they wanted to; it's because they tried to stay true to the D&D format.
Yeah.
So,
and you like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I mean,
it's on his comfort game list.
Yeah, I like what they did. I think they did a very fantastic job at making taking D&D and turning it into a video game.
Yeah.
Which is just great when you can't find people to play D&D with.
Yeah.
You can just play this by yourself.
Right.
Obviously, D&D, if you play it with friends, you can just play any story you want and have all these ridiculous scenarios, while Baldur's Gate 3, you're stuck with this story. But you can play the story in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
You can have a totally different cast than the previous time you played it.
Right.
That's big because for me, it actually makes it hard to play because I want all the character stories.
Yeah.
I want them all to be with me, and leaving one behind, I'm like,
that's hard.
I want to know. Even if I don't like them, I want to see how this. I want to see how the story plays out.
And then you find out there's even like secret characters. Like, is there a Melina?
There's a drow character that you can unlock. That I don't even know how to unlock them, but I just know people talk about it.
She's in the Goblin Camp.
I think you have to be evil to get her.
I think I was reading through the patch notes and they were saying they made another way to get her that's more accessible.
Okay.
But I don't know a lot.
But
That's,
doesn't she have, like,
that's
an
another
anti-hero,
thing, though.
She has a complicated, I don't want to give spoilers to people, but
Oh,
she's got a little
sorry,
bit more
sorry,
complicated story or past.
I don't really know much about it. I just know that she is playable.
Okay. And then
I think that is a big element
Yeah.
for comfort games in general. Is like Baldur's Gate 3 has gone. They are serious about improving the quality of that game. They have patched it over and over, and in my experience, has been consistently positive.
Yeah.
So and that's a huge for me.
I mean,
in terms of a comfort
the
game.
latest patch I saw, they improved the kissing animation.
Finally, oh
Finally.
my gosh!
Every time
I stopped playing because
That's
lips
right,
don't
yeah.
touch lips.
Yeah,
Don't
every
touch
time
that.
I boot up my PS5, it's like installed new update for Baldur's Gate 3. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, what do they do now?
Well, I was
Mostly kissing.
Yeah, that's
reading
right.
through the patch notes. It's something that I haven't come across because I haven't played as a gnome very seriously.
Yeah.
But they said something about the height difference when you're kissing a tall character when you're a gnome.
Yes. Yay.
So I would love to
What do they
see-
do? Give you
I
like
don't
multiple
know.
stepping stools?
Yeah.
Like, do they pick you up like a little doll?
The tall person, just their shoulders are, if shoulder down is just in the ground.
I like that better. I like
Yeah,
that better.
yeah.
The gnome isn't the joke anymore. The tall person is.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
just burying themselves.
That's right.
Yes, yes.
So what about it? Is it like is it the combat? Is it the story?
Oh, the
Is
combat's
it just-
fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not super big into story where story
Right,
matters, but
yeah.
I get involved in the
Which
story.
makes me. That's why I'm so interested because you're not really
because
into-
these characters are so in depth.
Yeah, okay.
and they have. You can even like see the way these characters react to different things depending on what you do, and obviously if you do stuff that they super disagree with, eventually they'll leave your party.
Right.
But you could do that, and that could be part of your narrative.
That makes
Yeah.
it more compelling to
Yeah,
me. That
yeah.
like my choices matter that much
Yeah.
that I could literally just lose a character that
Yeah,
I
right.
potentially really care about.
Yeah.
But it's just like you'll beat it, and you'll be like, "Well, let's play it again," and it's like almost even more fun the second time or the third time.
Yeah.
I think it makes it that much more satisfying
Yeah.
when you're like you're going through the checklist in your head of like gotta go here, get this, and then you stumble across something that you had no idea about, and you're like, I've played this game for like 90 hours, and I'm finding no way did this just completely fly under my radar the last time.
Act 3, like you get into the big city, Baldur's Gate, and it's overwhelming the first
it
time you
is,
play
for
it.
sure.
Which I think the second, third, fourth time you play it makes Act 3 better because you're less overwhelmed with how much there is.
That makes sense,
You
yeah.
have a better understanding of the structure of Act 3. But Act 1, like the first experience when you jump into Act 1 and you have so much to do, like you don't know what to do, that
Yeah.
feeling is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wish Act 1, and I kind of wish it was just a big. This is just me, but I kind of wish it was just a big overworld.
Oh, I feel you there.
So
I feel you there.
I actually think, to your point, the thing that makes Baldur's Gate 3 a comfort game for you is a double-edged sword for me, because I haven't left Act 1 because I'm so paranoid about, like, I've read online, people are like, you can't really go back in the same way.
Right.
Like, and
You
I don't want to miss anything. So
can
I
go
am
back to Act 1.
at this point, okay, well, maybe I should just bite the bullet and skip ahead. But like for me, I'm so trepidatious about missing something that I will get bogged down and lose my own momentum because I'm like, well, I'm not looking for anything in particular. I'm kind of just wandering around seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to experience that game, but I haven't beaten it. And I really feel like I should just push on. But games, they tend to work against themselves a little bit like that in my experience, where I actually end up not finishing the game because I'm so worried about not seeing everything the game has to offer.
Yeah.
And I should just do New Game Plus.
Yeah. My biggest thing with that game is that because just like with any game that has like characters that I really enjoy, like in Three Houses and stuff, is when you
I
choose
should
a
have
different
put
house.
3 houses on here. I beat that game 4 times.
When I choose a different house, you get new different characters. I just want my old characters back. So I have a real hard time. I get attached to characters
Yeah,
really
I feel
hard.
you there. Yeah.
Like Karlach. I just love Karlach.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Karlach
because Karlach is the best character.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful character.
Dude, in Three Houses, I was like, especially on my final playthrough when I had all my stats and everything, I was like, everybody else can go home. All these students will be coming with me.
Yeah.
I'm recruiting every single person that even has a first name in this game.
Yeah.
You're on my team now. And then at the end, it's like all the houses end up against each other. Well, I've just basically sniped every student because I can't bear for them not to be on my team. Because if they're not, you have to fight and kill them later on. Oh, really? So I'm like,
which game is that?
Three Houses. That was a great game. Okay. But I have a hard time picking a different, because I just want the same characters because I just love those characters. So it's like if I just need to beat it, but I can't even make myself beat the game because then I know that our journey will be over.
Yeah. There's like characters you didn't even realize you could have on your team, like Housen. You're like, oh, he can be on your team. How do you do that?
But he's on your team too late.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then
part of the fun of that game as a comfort game is like you go online and you're just reading about it because you enjoy it so much, and you see somebody be like, with so and so on my team, I did this strategy or whatever, and you're like, I didn't even know that person could be on your team. Yeah, and it's like it's just like a whole new wave of like, I've got to go back. I've got to go back.
2 characters for fans of the old Baldur's Gate games.
Yeah, you mentioned that,
which I can't remember their names at this point.
I don't know.
Minsk and Boo.
Minsk.
And
I was like, this guy.
That's the guy with the hamster, right?
What's the druid lady's name?
Druid lady.
Oh, yeah.
You meet in Act 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a cool cat. She's on my team.
Yeah, you can have her.
I can't believe there are more characters to recruit in Acts 2 and 3.
Well, you don't get Minsk and Boo till Act 3.
That's wild.
And I think he's a ranger class.
I already am like, can we double up on slots with the characters?
Dude,
I can't imagine having even more.
Going through mods on that game, there's a mod that just lets you have as many characters as you want in your party.
Seems broken. I'm going to download it as soon as I get home.
I haven't messed with that. I haven't touched that.
That is a beautiful game.
Yeah.
I do love that game.
Yeah. Need to
get to wrapping it up.
We'll go briefly. I don't want anybody's to get left out. But
let's kind of do like an honorable mentions type deal here.
Basically,
well, this is my number 3.
I have 2 more. So
5 seconds.
Cool. All right, number 3.
That was 10 minutes worth of dialogue.
I love that game.
For people listening at home, we fast forwarded all 10 minutes.
Yeah. My number 3 for comfort games is Onimusha Warlords.
Okay, that's enough from you.
The PS2.
Is that a strategy game?
Get out of here.
Is it an RTS?
No.
I would play it.
They do have an RTS game.
What is Warlords?
Onimusha Warlords. Action adventure. Capcom at its finest.
I played a little bit of this
Japan. Huh?
I played a little bit of this game because you told me to.
Oh, man. It's beautiful. Oh, I think you played the second one.
Sure.
However.
You would know more than me.
Because that's how you make jokes about it, remember? Because the intro was horrible. Yeah. Ryan, play this game. And he's like, man, this game is trash, bro. That's the second game. The first game, I just beat it. Because I just was like, wanted to pick it back up. Okay. And I can play this game so many times every time I pick it back up. I have just as much fun playing it as I did back then.
Okay.
I played it again. I beat it in 2.5 hours. And I was like, dang, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But I just know where all the secrets are. I know how to solve all the mystery
You're accidentally
boxes.
speed running this game at this point.
Dude, I
played
am.
it too many times.
I didn't even know.
I did that with Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, dude, it's so good. But it has pretty deep mechanics that I kind of forgot about it. But it has like Dark Souls style combat. The original, at least specifically, where you can block, you can do a critical strike right before.
You can block?
You can block, I know, which a lot of games don't, because they're all about, like, they went Dynasty Warriors route, where you just tap and swing a bunch of enemies instead of
if you're
having
attacking.
like collision-based.
Yeah, they did.
Collision-based attacks, you know what I mean? So you block, you attack, you can do a critical strike right before they swing. If you attack, you'll go behind them and do a slash. Basically kills them instantly. It's incredible. But dude, I just love this game, except they have this one random part in the game that's like, well, I'll say a couple hours in, but I beat the game in 2.5 hours. For most people, it's a couple hours
so
in.
half an hour before it is.
Right, yeah. Is they have a random puzzle sequence with an unskippable cutscene.
Sounds like it's on your pet peeve list.
Dude, I know. But it works for me because I don't care because I'm so used to it playing it over.
Sure.
But, okay. So you have this moment, and it's a 15-minute sequence. And if you die, you have to start all back over, and you have to watch the cutscene over again, and then you have to do the whole thing.
I hate that.
Yep. So you have 2 characters. You swap between the characters. You have to pull levers to open up gates, and then you go to the next part where it's a set of trapped tiles on the ground. Okay, you step on the tile, it drops the tiles. You see which tiles aren't dropped, and then you take your other character and step on another part, right? Then you get to the water trap puzzle. Samanosuke, the male character of the game, gets trapped in a room, and water starts filling up the room. Kaede, the female character...
Onimusha saw.
Yeah, dude, yeah, exactly. She goes to the wall, and it's the most
Saw?
obscure trap or puzzle that you've ever seen in your life. You have 2 pieces of a lotus.
Dude, this sounds like a pet peeve of mine.
And you have to take like pieces of wood, but you can only move them per segment. Okay? And of course the water's filling up, and there's like a little timer, and it keeps going up and up and up or whatever. Dude, the most stress-inducing.
It's like the Sonic level where you're underwater and the music starts, and you're like, just get me
yeah,
out of here!
Exactly, dude. But it's
Yeah.
just insane. It's like, because I'm like maybe 11 or 12 playing this game, and it's like, I think that probably stopped people from continuing the game because they didn't know what to freaking do.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Now it's so easy. I don't know how to do it or whatever because I'm so used to it. But it's like, and then there's no puzzles like that in the game ever again. It's just like they were like, let's make it random.
They forgot to cut it.
Yeah, probably. They were like, it'll be fine. Yeah. But it's so random. There's just random.
They probably spent so much
water-
time on that
They
puzzle.
probably did.
That they're like, we can't cut it now. We can't go
cut
back,
it,
but
bro.
let's
I
not
put
do
all
this.
of the
Bro,
resources
this game is
into
2.5
this puzzle.
hours. We can't afford to cut a puzzle. That's half an hour of the gameplay.
That's right. But if you die, you got to start all the way back over, and you spend the next
This game
dude.
is a summary of our last episode.
Yeah.
Bad puzzles.
I mean,
bad
you just
saves.
triggered like so many things in my
Yeah,
head for pet
dude.
peeves.
But I love this game just because I can blow through it. Obviously, know where all the secrets are.
That's it's truly a comfort game.
Oh, dude, it's just so much fun.
Would you say it's more of a comfort game for pure nostalgia's sake, or do you think it like
If
could
I
be
played it, would I also be
Yeah.
like, I get what you see in this game?
Yeah.
Or would I be like, you played this a long time ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Ryan
Yeah.
would be more.
Just
Because
'cause
you're
it's
just like,
already
I don't
in
like
his
combat,
wheelhouse.
man. The
Yeah,
stories are
man.
ridiculous.
I hate when people fight.
the animation's kind of like Samanosuke just has like wide eyes the whole time. He's just like,
It's like
Yeah.
Mass
and I'm like,
Effect 2 syndrome.
yeah, yes, gosh, yeah.
This
but-
is my favorite store on the Citadel.
But then there's a version when Xbox would get their own versions. There's a Genma Onimusha that has a random. It's got this random horror doll in it that has like these knives, and it's like makes the game more horror themed. I guess I don't know. Just supposed to be a surprise enemy that you can't kill. They were like, let's make a tyrant and put it in Onimusha.
Okay.
Super random. So, honorable mentions. Oh god.
Okay, well, they're not honorable mention. Well, okay, I do have an honorable
Well, let's go.
mention, but I have
Quick.
a couple more. So my honorable mention
It's
is
my turn.
No, it's his turn.
Is it?
Yes. Get out of here.
my.
All right, Jared,
you
go ahead.
scared me for a second. I was like, "Am I jumping in again?"
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Warriors. That game's really good. If you like the Onimusha formula, but you really like
Onimusha formula.
not Onimusha, sorry, the Samurai Warriors
Dynasty
or like
Warriors,
Dynasty
yeah.
Warriors,
Okay.
those kinds of games. It has like great new game plus
Okay.
playability,
Yeah.
and you get what you like out of both genres.
Nice.
Definitely recommend it. One of my a huge comfort game for me, like in a literal sense of the word comfort, is The Sims 4. Because
that's a
The
good
Sims
pick.
4 is
Yeah.
a game that I don't really play it like it. I do play as a character so that I can realize basically that game is an opiate for my real life. That's what I'm trying to say. I get a real job. I get promoted. I make reasonable money. I can
Yeah.
afford to eat. If I want a house, I could just like in real life, if I see a house,
Yeah.
that I like, I will literally take a picture of it and build it in The Sims and live
cool.
in it. Like
Okay.
The Sims 4 is a game that allows me to simulate what it would be like to live in the age of the boomer, where you could actually afford things and
joke.
have a good life.
Yeah.
And
This is what it would look like if we could survive and live
literally
a normal life.
comforts
Yeah.
me enough to where I'm like, one day maybe.
One day.
And I love it for that.
And then you open the door to your
Spare change, ma'am.
cardboard house and
Yeah, and then and then I look up in my apartment that is 500 square feet. And I'm like,
And way too expensive.
and way too expensive.
Yeah,
Way too
insane.
expensive.
that's a great one. I love that.
It's really cool. Does anybody else have any more? Am I the only one with?
No, I mean-
Yeah, I've got. If I want to play a game with some friends, a comfort game
Yeah.
is Smash Brothers.
Dude, same.
Wow,
Dude,
not Boomerang Foo.
I do like that
I mean,
game.
that's
That
a good
game's
example
fun.
too. But like, I'm always down,
Yeah.
always down for hours and hours of Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Oh,
like
dude,
if I
for
stop
sure.
playing Smash Brothers, it's not because I wanted to.
Yeah.
If there are no more Smash
Yeah.
fans, I am dead.
I'll
Yeah.
play right now. Yeah. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
do a tourney.
Oh, I'd love to do like a bracket tournament with. Like
Oh,
a-
I would love
like
to
a-
come in last place.
Yeah.
That would be a
Put
blast.
some bots in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do like the tournament mode in Smash, and I played through the story multiple times in Smash. Like I like Smash. I'm not good at Smash, but I will play it pretty much
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, like when a new Smash game comes out, if a new one ever does come out,
Right,
I
yeah.
don't think they will do another one.
He said he's not doing another one.
Yeah,
So.
He said
when-
that. He
like
said
this-
that every time.
Yeah.
He said that every time.
The
I'm not
story
doing it.
mode
I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm like, dude, you're such a liar.
The story mode is just like a thing to beat.
Yeah.
For me, the multiplayer, of course,
Yeah.
is where it's at.
It's
But
it's a more fun version of practice mode.
I guess so. That's a good
Yeah.
good way to think of it. And then, like to the same sense, like if I want to play a game with friends, Halo multiplayer.
Dude, Halo, for
Like,
sure.
I
Halo's
either want to
timeless.
play Halo 3 or I want to play Halo Infinite because Halo Infinite does a pretty good job with the
Halo
combat.
Infinite is good. When I think of Halo, I think of like the original Halo or maybe Halo 2.
If you want to play
I think
Halo
of Halo
1,
2,
2, or 3 online with friends, you will not have a bad time.
Yeah. And here's the thing about because it is on my list, and I have never even beat these games. I have only played them
Yeah.
multiplayer.
The campaign and the multiplayer are just two different animals.
Yeah.
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 Like when you guys are like, hey, let's play some Halo. I'm like, dude, heck yeah. I always have a good
That's a
time.
blast.
And I'm terrible at that game, but I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
so
yeah.
much fun
I
just
get
playing
that.
that game with you guys. And
I am
That's my list.
in the
It's
exact
just-
same boat.
yeah, it's just so much fun. But it's on my list, even though I have never owned a Halo game
Yeah.
or beaten the single player campaign
Yeah.
for Halo.
And when Halo 3 came out with the Forge mode, I was like, I just come home from school, spend hours in Forge mode.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, go back
That's
to
what
school.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That comfort game element.
Yeah.
You got to have that modability.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's even better when they just bake it right in.
I
I,
would
did
build-
that with Time Splitters too. We would just
Oh, yeah.
build maps.
That was like the
Nice.
first game I remember having like a map builder.
Yeah.
But,
That was really fun.
a map builder.
Me
that
and my
mattered.
neighbor. Shout out to Martin. It was really
but
that was a blast.
I would just build maps that were like fun for me for like the zombie matches, the infection matches in Halo 3. I just loved playing infection matches with
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
And just like killing friends and then converting them to your side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just having like last stand, like you'd build last stand rooms that like 3 or 4 people would try and survive
Yeah.
in, and you're trying to get. I would have like creative ways for the zombies to like,
Right.
break in there.
Yeah, I prefer horde mode
Yeah.
to like a standard
Infection.
multiplayer most of the time, or
Yeah.
like standard infection, just because horde modes usually has.
You're talking
some
about
more.
horde mode, like
I like horde
is
mode because it
PvE.
has continuity. Like you're
Yeah.
upgrading stuff and you're progressing in
Yeah.
terms of like your defensive structures.
you remember
and stuff.
Gears of War's.
Dude, I was gonna
Gears
say
of War's
Gears.
horde mode.
Yeah,
Dude.
I like Gears of War. I've never been like a diehard fan of
The
Gears
horde
of War,
mode.
but
Made
they
that.
started horde mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing. 'Cause it might just be because it was the first game to really do it like
Right.
well, I
Yeah.
guess. But horde mode with your friends, just like last stand, like felt so good.
The irony of the success of Fortnite is that what it is now was a capitalization of the battle royale genre. That game for years was nothing but a horde mode. That's what that game was supposed to be originally.
It wasn't for years. It was actually very short lived.
Well, I mean, it had been in production for like
For
5
production,
years,
correct.
and then one day they
was
released like a
marketed.
beta version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like horde mode.
Yeah.
No one really paid attention,
No.
and then they were like, "Let's try a."
It wasn't even
let's
that
try
great.
a battle royale mode, and it was just it's all history from
Exploded.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The concept was just really cool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah to both.
Yeah.
Take us out. Say thanks to Sam Webster
hold
for
our
our
hand.
intro, outro music.
man.
Hold my hand.
What is it? What are we doing?
Sam Webster
Oh, yeah.
is our intro and outro music. He is a fantastic musician.
We like him.
Soundtrack for Grindstone is a mobile game, not a gacha. So you can play it on the Apple game service, whatever the subscription is, Apple Arcade. Thank you. It's great. It's fantastic. If not, check out his music. His music is all very good. I love it. Our platforms, if you want to point out where we're going.
Give us
where to
your
find us.
comfort games. Tell us about your comfort games.
Yeah, tell us your
what
comfort
makes
games.
a comfort game a comfort game. Hit us
Yeah.
up on
What do you go to?
Did I Save
when you're in a gaming rut?
Yeah, Did I Save Podcast at gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
And we're going to go through those emails.
Through those emails.
Through the emails, through the comments, all of it.
Yes, suggestions, comments, questions.
Yeah.
Leave, if you're watching this instead of listening to it, which you can do both of, leave a comment. Tell us, just go ahead and list it right there, baby. Just tell us what your favorite,
That's right.
what your comfort games are. We'd love to hear from you guys.
We will definitely be checking out the chats.
Yes. And then also, if you want to know what we're up to, you can follow us at Blue Sky. You can check us out on TikTok. You can also check us out on Twitch. We'll be streaming more in the future. But all of that is at Did I Save Podcast. So if you're ever looking for us, that's the easiest way to find us. Just punch it in, see if we exist on whatever platform you're on.
That's right.
You should be able to, find what you're looking for. And
sometimes I think it's
Stay in
Did I Save
touch.
question mark.
Yes, I tried to avoid that as much as possible in anything that wasn't like a name, like any kind of platform or whatever. But yeah, if it doesn't work, check out the question mark too.
All right.
We'll
guys.
get better at this.
Thanks for joining us. That's right. We're working on it. And don't forget to save.